Welcome back to Women of Worth, the podcast where we empower each other to build healthy, happy lives. Today, we're talking about something that affects so many of us: how to recognize the signs of an unhealthy relationship. Relationships can be complicated, and it's not always easy to know where to draw the line between a rough patch and a toxic pattern. In this episode, we'll dive into the telltale signs of an unhealthy relationship, from control and manipulation to poor communication and a lack of respect. We'll also cover actionable steps you can take to address these issues, rebuild your confidence, and make choices that prioritize your well-being. By the end of this episode, you'll feel empowered to assess your relationship with a clear mind and take steps toward the healthy, supportive connection you deserve. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you don't miss out on future episodes. And if you have any thoughts or experiences to share, please comment below. We're all here to support each other's journey toward healthier, happier relationships. Now, let's get started and uncover the signs of an unhealthy relationship, along with the steps you can take to overcome them.
Relationships, huh? They can be amazing.
Yeah.
But they can also be really tough.
Yeah, for sure.
So today, we're diving deep into how to spot those unhealthy relationships and how to deal with them, especially for women.
Okay, yeah.
We'll be looking at some sources that break down the signs and help us see what's a normal relationship problem and what's like a serious red flag.
Interesting. Yeah, that can be so hard to figure out sometimes. Like,
Right.
when is it just a little bump in the road, and when is it, oh, I need to pay attention here, this isn't good.
Exactly.
One of the things that makes it so tricky is that unhealthy behaviors can start really subtly.
Yeah.
You don't always see them coming. So that's why, it's so important to understand the why behind these behaviors.
Yes, yeah.
It's not about pointing fingers or blaming anyone.
Right.
It's about recognizing the impact these behaviors have.
Okay.
Not just on the relationship itself, but on you, like your self-esteem, your sense of who you are, your overall well-being, all of that.
So let's jump into those signs. Control and manipulation, that seems like a big one.
Definitely.
One of the sources talks about Sarah. Her partner would always pressure her to stay home instead of going out with friends. He wanted her all to himself.
Oh, yes.
And over time, Sarah started feeling really isolated. Her world just got smaller and smaller.
It's so classic, isn't it?
It is.
It's that control disguised as affection.
Yeah.
At first, it might even seem romantic, like, oh, he just loves me so much.
Right.
But it's so damaging in the long run.
How so?
Because it chips away at your independence.
Okay.
It makes you question your own judgment.
Sort of doubt yourself.
Exactly. And then you start relying on your partner's approval for everything.
That's no good. It's like you're losing yourself bit by bit.
Exactly.
Okay, so control, even when it's masked as love, is a huge red flag. What about lack of respect or support?
Another big one. There's this story in the source about Annie, whose partner would constantly make jokes about her career goals.
Like what?
He'd say things like, oh, those are cute, or that's never going to happen.
Oh, that's awful.
Totally dismissing her dreams.
Yeah.
A healthy relationship should be a safe space.
Yeah, for sure.
A place where you feel supported and encouraged.
Right, not put down.
Yeah. But these little jokes, even if they seem harmless,
Yeah.
they can be so hurtful, especially when they target something that's important to you.
I see. It wears you down.
Exactly. It erodes your confidence. It makes you question your own potential.
It's like he's holding her back.
That's a good way to put it.
So lack of respect, whether it's through words or actions, that's a big warning sign.
Definitely.
Now let's talk about unbalanced power dynamics. The source mentions Maria, who felt powerless in her relationship because her partner controlled all their finances. He didn't even discuss it with her.
That's a big problem.
It is.
Financial control, any kind of power imbalance, is so unhealthy. It's about one person holding all the cards. Making the other person feel trapped and dependent.
It's like being a kid again.
In a way, yeah. And it's not just about the money itself. It's about feeling like an equal partner,
I see.
about having a voice, about being able to make decisions about your own life.
Okay, so control, lack of respect, and these power imbalances, we're building a list of red flags here.
Yes.
Let's talk about communication.
Communication, essential, right?
You would think.
Yeah.
But our source talks about Rachel. Her relationship was full of arguments, and they just couldn't communicate well. They ended up ignoring each other for days.
Oh, the silent treatment. Is that a common thing?
It is, unfortunately. It's a way of avoiding the problem instead of actually dealing with
Like
it.
sweeping it under the rug.
Exactly. And you know what happens then? It just piles up.
Gets worse and worse.
Exactly. Unresolved conflicts and bottled up emotions, they just breed resentment.
And then you can't connect.
Right. You end up drifting further and further apart.
So healthy communication, where both partners feel heard and respected, that's key.
And of course, there's trust.
Trust, the foundation of any strong relationship.
Exactly. But the source brings up Linda. Her partner was constantly checking her phone, questioning her about male friends.
Oh, wow.
And it created so much anxiety and distrust in the relationship.
That's a clear sign of a lack of trust and transparency.
And what's at the root of that?
Often it's jealousy and insecurity.
Makes sense.
When you're constantly under suspicion, it's like walking on eggshells.
You're always worried.
Right. It erodes the foundation of the relationship completely.
So trust is non-negotiable. If you don't have that, well, you've got nothing.
You said it.
Now, this next one is really important. I want to be very clear here. Abuse. Any kind of abuse.
Yeah.
Emotional, physical, financial.
Yes.
It's never acceptable.
Or never.
The source shares Emma's experience. Her partner restricted her access to their shared finances. It's a form of financial abuse.
It is.
And it can be incredibly isolating and disempowering.
It is, because it's all about control and manipulation.
Yep.
It's about trapping the victim, making them dependent.
It's so important to remember that you deserve to feel safe
Absolutely.
and respected in a relationship.
Yes. And if you're experiencing any form of abuse,
Yeah?
please know that it's not your fault. And there is help available.
We'll definitely share some resources later. But let's talk about the impact of these unhealthy patterns, all these red flags.
Sure.
I mean, being in a toxic relationship, it takes a toll on you.
Oh, absolutely. It affects every aspect of your well-being.
How so?
Well, think about it. You're constantly under stress.
Right.
You're anxious. Your self-esteem plummets.
Yeah.
You feel isolated. These are all common consequences of being in an unhealthy relationship.
So it's not just relationship problems, it's your whole life.
Exactly. Your mental health, your emotional health, even your physical health.
Yeah.
It all suffers.
It sounds exhausting.
It is. It's like this slow chipping away of your spirit. It makes you question your worth, your ability to be happy. That's heartbreaking. So what can someone do if they see these signs, these red flags in their own relationship?
Well, that's what we'll dive into next. But one thing I always emphasize is the importance of acknowledging the issue.
Yeah. You have to admit there's a problem first.
Right. Until you do that, you can't start to address it.
Makes sense.
The source actually recommends writing down situations that make you uncomfortable.
Okay.
It helps you see the patterns, you know.
It brings it into focus.
Exactly. You can't ignore it anymore.
That's like taking a good hard look in the mirror. So you've acknowledged the issue, then what?
Then you start setting boundaries.
Oh, right. Boundaries. Those are important.
They are essential for protecting your mental and emotional well-being. It's about defining what you will and will not tolerate.
That takes guts.
It does, especially if you're used to putting others first or avoiding conflict.
Yeah.
But it's so powerful. It's a huge step towards regaining your self-respect.
Well, we'll get into the nitty-gritty in the next part. But for now, just remember, clear communication is key.
Makes sense.
And don't be afraid to seek support. Talk to someone you trust.
Yeah, a friend, a family member.
Anyone who will listen without judgment and offer genuine support.
It helps to have someone in your corner.
It does. And remember, professional help is also available. A therapist can be a great resource.
Yeah, they can give you the tools and strategies to navigate all this.
Exactly.
So acknowledging the issue, setting boundaries, and seeking support, these are all crucial steps. Is there anything else we should keep in mind?
Self-care. Don't forget about self-care.
Oh, right. That's so important.
It is. It's about taking care of yourself, both physically and emotionally. Do things that bring you joy. Recharge your batteries.
So it's not selfish to put yourself first sometimes.
It's not selfish. It's essential. You can't pour from an empty cup.
Right. So true. You have to fill yourself up first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes that means making the really tough decision to walk away from the relationship.
Oh, right. That's a whole other level.
It is. It's not easy. But sometimes it's the healthiest and most loving thing you can do for yourself.
When you realize you deserve better.
Yes. It's about recognizing your worth and refusing to settle for anything less.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about the red flags, the impact of unhealthy relationships,
Yeah.
and the importance of taking care of yourself. What are some of your biggest takeaways so far?
Well, for me, it's about recognizing that you have the power to choose.
I like that.
You have the power to choose healthy relationships. You have the power to set boundaries. And you have the power to walk away if you need to.
That's empowering.
It is. And it's something we'll explore further in the next part.
Awesome. I can't wait to dive deeper into all of this.
Me too.
We'll be back soon with part 2 of this deep dive.
See you then.
Don't go anywhere.
You know, it's amazing how just setting a small boundary can like shift the whole dynamic in a relationship.
It really is drawing a line in the sand and you're saying like, nope, it's where I stand. You know, this is what I will and will not accept.
It's so true, but it's easier said than done.
Oh, yeah.
It takes real courage to set boundaries.
And practice, probably.
For sure. Especially if you're not used to like standing up for yourself,
right,
or if you're a people pleaser, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But the good news is our source material has some great tips on how to do it effectively.
Okay.
And one thing they emphasize is clear communication.
Right. Using those I statements to express your feelings and needs.
Yes. Instead of blaming or attacking the other person, it's about taking ownership of your own experience and communicating it in a way that the other person can hopefully understand.
Not in a way that makes them defensive.
Exactly.
So like instead of saying, you always interrupt me and it's so rude.
Right, which just makes the other person shut down.
Yeah.
You could try something like,
I feel disrespected when I'm interrupted.
I would really appreciate it if you could let me finish my thought.
Yeah, it's about the behavior and how it makes you feel.
Exactly.
Not about labeling the person as good or bad.
Right. It's such a small shift in how we say things.
It is.
But it can make a huge difference.
Because you're setting a clear boundary, but you're also respecting the other person's perspective.
Exactly. You're not trying to control them.
Okay, so what happens when you set a boundary and the other person doesn't respect it?
Ooh, that's the tough part.
It is.
You know, people are going to test boundaries, especially if they're used to getting their way.
It's natural to push back.
Totally. And that's why you have to be consistent.
Consistent in what you say and what you do.
Yes. If you say you won't tolerate a certain behavior,
you got to back it up with action.
You have to show them you're serious.
That you're not going to budge.
Right. And that might mean having some difficult conversations.
Oh, yeah. Those are never fun.
They're not, but sometimes they're necessary.
Yeah. And sometimes it might mean setting limits on contact or even in some cases walking away.
It's true, and that takes a lot of strength.
It does. It's about putting your well-being first.
Exactly, even when it's really hard.
Speaking of support, the source really emphasizes how important it is to reach out for help when you're going through this stuff.
Oh, for sure. You don't have to do this alone.
Right. So how can people build a strong support system? What are some practical tips?
I think the first step is identifying people in your life you can really trust.
Okay, the people who will just listen.
Yes, people who are good listeners and who won't judge you.
Those are the gems.
They are. It could be a close friend, a family member, maybe a mentor or a spiritual advisor.
Right, whoever feels safe.
Exactly. Sometimes just having someone to talk to vent, to help you process your emotions.
Yeah, to be that sounding board.
That can make all the difference in the world.
It can.
And if you feel like you need more than a friend can offer, or if you're looking for more specialized guidance, then consider talking to a therapist or a counselor.
That can be so helpful.
It can. Therapy is a safe and confidential space to really explore what's going on.
To dig deep.
Yeah, and to develop healthy coping skills to deal with all the challenges that come up.
The source mentions that a therapist can help you understand the dynamics of unhealthy relationships better.
Yes.
Help you set boundaries and even build your self-esteem back up.
They can also give you strategies for how to deal with difficult people and situations.
It's like having a coach in your corner, you know?
I love that analogy. It's so true.
Okay, so we've got support covered. Now let's move on to self-care.
Yes, self-care is essential for rebuilding your sense of worth.
I totally agree. It's about taking care of yourself on all levels. Physical, emotional, and mental.
Exactly. It's about finding those activities that nourish you, that bring you joy, and help you recharge.
So like what? What are some examples?
It really depends on what you enjoy. It could be taking a long bath, reading a good book.
Getting out in nature.
Yes. Nature is so healing, maybe doing some yoga or meditation.
I love being outdoors. A simple walk in the park does wonders for me.
Me too. Nature is so calming and restorative. What about you? What are some of your favorite self-care practices?
Let's see. I also find creative outlets really helpful.
Oh, like what?
I love to paint and write. It's a way for me to express myself.
I love that it's about finding what feeds your soul.
Exactly. And it's not selfish to take that time for yourself.
Not at all. It's essential. You can't pour from an empty cup.
So true. You have to fill yourself up first.
Exactly. And sometimes that means making the tough decision to walk away from a relationship.
We talked about that a bit earlier, but I think it's worth revisiting.
It's such an important point. It's not easy to walk away.
Especially if you've invested a lot in the relationship.
Yeah, there's going to be grief, sadness, a sense of loss.
Maybe guilt or fear of being alone.
All of that is normal. It's part of the process.
But the source makes it clear that staying in a toxic environment will only hurt you more in the long run.
That's right. It's like holding on to a burning rope. Yeah, you just keep getting burned the longer you hold on.
So sometimes letting go, even though it hurts, is the only way to truly heal and move forward.
It's about choosing yourself and your well-being.
It's about saying, I deserve to be in a relationship that brings me joy, not pain.
And that takes so much courage.
It does, but it's also incredibly empowering.
It is. It's a declaration of self-love.
You're saying, I'm worth it.
Exactly. You're saying, I'm not going to settle for less than I deserve.
And that opens up space for something new and better to come into your life.
It does. That emptiness is where the real growth happens.
It's a chance to rediscover yourself, your passions, your purpose.
It's like a phoenix rising from the ashes.
Stronger and more beautiful than ever before.
I love that image.
So we've talked about these concepts in a general sense,
Yeah,
but I think it would be helpful to see how they play out in real life.
absolutely. Stories have a way of making these things feel more real and relatable.
And they can show us that it's possible to break free from these unhealthy patterns.
Exactly. They give us hope.
So stay tuned, because we're going to dive deep into what it really means to create a life that truly aligns with your values and aspirations.
A life that is authentically yours.
All right, so we've talked about the signs of unhealthy relationships and the importance of setting boundaries, seeking support, practicing self-care.
Yeah,
We even touched on that tough decision of walking away.
right.
But what happens after you take those steps? What does that moving on process actually look like? How do you grow from that?
That's where things get really exciting.
Yeah.
You know, it's like this whole new world opens up. You
Yeah.
finally have the chance to create a life that's truly yours, you know?
Based on what you want.
Exactly. A life that reflects your values, your passions, the dreams you maybe had to put on hold.
Like you're starting with a blank canvas.
I love that analogy.
It's exciting, but also maybe a little scary.
It can be for sure, especially if you've been in an unhealthy relationship for a long time.
Yeah, you might not even know where to begin.
Right. It's a journey of rediscovering yourself.
Figuring out who you are again.
Exactly. Shedding those layers that the relationship might have put on you.
Those layers of negativity or control.
Yeah, you have to peel those back and reconnect with your true self.
So where do you even start with something like that?
Well, I think it starts with taking some time for introspection, some good old-fashioned self-reflection.
Yeah.
Really explore your values, your interests, your goals. What brings you joy? What are you passionate about? What do you want your life to look like now?
It's like taking inventory of your inner world.
Yes. And maybe challenging some of the beliefs or limitations you might have picked up along the way.
Right, because sometimes those unhealthy relationships can really mess with your head.
Absolutely. They can make you doubt yourself and your abilities.
So you have to reclaim your power.
Exactly. Your voice, your agency, your right to choose.
And once you start to reconnect with those core parts of yourself, you can start making choices that reflect that.
Yes.
So maybe that means trying a new hobby, going back to school, changing careers.
Or even just spending more time with people who lift you up and support you.
It's about creating a life that feels authentic and fulfilling.
A life that nourishes your soul. A life that makes you feel truly alive.
I love that. And I imagine that sense of fulfillment can then ripple out into other areas of your life too.
Absolutely. Your relationships, your work, your overall well-being, everything starts to fall into place.
It all aligns.
Exactly. When you're living in alignment with your true self, you just radiate a different energy.
People can sense that.
They can. It's a sense of confidence and self-assuredness that attracts positive experiences and healthy connections.
It's like you become a magnet for good things.
That's a great way to put it.
So it's not just about healing from the past, it's about creating a future that's even better than you could have imagined.
Exactly. That's the beauty of personal growth.
And it's not just about the individual either.
You're so right. When one person chooses to heal and break free from unhealthy patterns, it can inspire others around them.
It's contagious.
It is. It's like a ripple effect of positive change.
Spreading outwards.
Yeah. It can impact families, communities, even society as a whole.
Because when we prioritize our own well-being,
Yes.
we're also contributing to a world where healthy relationships become the norm.
I love that thought.
It all starts with each of us making that choice, the choice to heal, to grow, to create a life that honors our worth.
So well said. Going back to all the sources we explored for this deep dive,
Yeah.
I was really struck by how many stories there were of women who not only overcame these challenges, but went on to do amazing things with their lives.
Like what?
They became advocates, artists, entrepreneurs. They found their purpose and made a real difference in the world.
That's so inspiring. It's like proof that even after going through something so tough, you can come out stronger on the other side.
You can, and sometimes it's those very challenges that lead us to our greatest triumphs.
You're right. Those difficult experiences can really shape us in powerful ways.
They can. They teach us resilience and strength, and they help us discover who we truly are.
So true. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with this.
Okay.
Believe in your own strength, your resilience, and your worthiness of love and happiness. You deserve to be in relationships that bring you joy, not pain.
And if you're not experiencing that right now, know that it's okay to seek help, to set boundaries, to prioritize your own well-being.
You have the power to choose something better for yourself.
You do. And remember, moving on is not a sign of weakness. It's an act of incredible courage and self-love.
It's about creating a life that is truly and authentically yours.
We're here to support you every step of the way, so please share your thoughts, your questions, your experiences in the comments. We love hearing from you.
We do. What topics would you like us to explore further? What were your biggest takeaways from this deep dive? Let's keep the conversation going. We encourage you to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might also find it valuable.
Until next time, keep diving deep, keep exploring, and keep believing in your own incredible potential.
That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.